Welcome back to another Love Living Local 315 with your hosts, Scott and Kelly Greats. Today, we welcome Dan Enea into the studio. Dan is the owner of Mohawk Valley Funerals and Cremations, third generation funeral director here in the Valley. He's all about taking care of people, giving back to the community. We get into a lot of Dan's service inside and outside of the Mohawk Valley. It's a great conversation and really what we want to drive home specifically to an upcoming date is Veterans Day, November 11th. Dan is leading a group that is heading to Saratoga National Cemetery. All veterans are welcome. There's no cost. It includes breakfast. It includes dinner when you get back. It includes transportation. So we have information on how you or a veteran you know can get onto that bus. So enjoy this conversation with Dan Enea. All right, so our mission is to shine a spotlight on amazing people doing amazing things right here in central New York. And we're going to talk about a lot of amazing things, but we're going to start with death.
Yes. All right.
Because we can't tell the Enea story.
Well, you called the right person.
Without somebody passing, right? So third generation funeral director.
Correct.
Talk to us a little bit about your professional background, Dan.
I grew up in a funeral home following my father around above the Little Falls location, and he kind of built the business, taking it over from my grandfather on my mother's side at Holleran in Herkimer. Okay. And I always loved and admired what they did as funeral directors and followed them around and watched them in the community and helping people through a difficult time. And I said to myself, I want to do this when I get older.
When did you know that?
Probably when I was about 10 or 11 years old.
Is that weird?
My parents put a suit on me and I was working calling hours, opening doors at the funeral home at that age.
Like for someone who's almost 50 and still not sure what he wants to do, it's weird for me to, at the age of 10, you knew what you wanted to do.
I did. I think I had a passion of helping people and I think it kind of followed me through my life. And I just, always wanted to be a funeral director, and here I am.
Yeah, a lot of kids. That is like, I know my first experience was like a loved one, where I'd gone to a funeral home for calling hours or something like that. So it's extremely traumatic,
It is. It can be. Yes,
it can be. But for you to be exposed to it in a different light, sort of like as a business, and providing that comfort, like that's crazy. That at 10 years old.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think I'm kind of numb to it at this point, but not insensitive at the same time. But you kind of get used to the business, but your different roles and when you have to, be there for families, and
it's a skill
like to do.
And
it is.
And
it takes
you have
a certain
to
person.
Be, for
it really
sure,
does.
Multifaceted, right? Because you're dealing with obviously the families who are grieving. You're dealing with the community. You're dealing probably with hospitals and all the business logistical side of things, cemeteries. So yeah, I guess what was the biggest challenge for you?
The biggest challenge was, I always tell people when they come in and want to be a funeral director, this is a huge challenge. Being out to dinner with your friends or, having a good time with friends up at camp or wherever you're at a concert, and you get called out and you have to go.
Yeah.
At 2 or 3 in the morning or on a weekend or even Christmas morning. My parents were always working on holidays, and things like that. And you have to get up and go and walk away from the family and help another family that's going through probably the worst time of their lives. And that takes there's no times that are different. It happens all the time, death, unfortunately.
Yeah, truly, so 24/7, 365. Correct. And so are you ever able to stop working? Mentally?
Yes.
You are? Okay.
Yeah, we try to, and it's very important that we do disconnect from this business, because I found that it never leaves my mind, this business. You're always thinking about it and what you're going to be doing next and how you're going to help a family the next time around. But I also have trained myself over the past 10 years or so to do disconnect and take a break and take a vacation. And there's people that will cover you and take over while you're away. And some people can't and don't want to do that, but you have to. It's a necessity in this business to succeed as a funeral director, to take time off as well.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what makes your service unique we talked about a little bit about this before we started the podcast.
Sure.
Different things that you're doing that other funeral homes may not be doing.
I've kind of wrapped my head around and kind of focused on the new type of funeral business that people want, which is cremation.
Mm-hmm.
It's about 70% of my own business is cremation, where gone are the days like our Italian family, Scott, you know that, where you have calling hours the night before and the funeral the next day and then go to the church, the Catholic church and the burial. But now people are opting against that, and they call me and say, Dan, look, we just want cremation. We want the cremains, which are another word for ashes, returned to me. And then we're going to go do our own celebration of life at the Rod and Gun Club or at the VFW or at the Legion. So, and I've kind of grasped that idea, and I work with that. And I'm not afraid to advertise that we offer cremation.
Right. And it has become
because
a lot more common. My mother is very vocal about that's what she wants.
Yes,
and
exactly.
Talk a little bit about people that want to put all of this in place before they pass as well. That's probably a lot easier on the families than putting it on the loved ones that are experiencing, the loss.
It's a lot easier. A lot of people come in and they sit with me and they tell me what they want done. God forbid something happens. And even if we just sit down and you tell me what you want, we get it written down and we start a file. You don't have to go as far as prepaying the funeral, although that's an option for you if you do that. But even if you get your wishes written down, I always say, do that with your funeral director of your choice and let your family know. Say, look, I spoke with whoever, Dan, and he has a file. Just give them a call if something happens unexpectedly, and they will handle everything. And it's a huge thing that's taken care of.
It's a huge thing, and as someone who went through it somewhat recently, it's you're grieving, and you're not in the right state of mind, and all the things that we say now under normal circumstances that sound, I don't care, just do this or just whatever, right? Now, but now you're left to make those decisions, and those are heavy decisions, right? This is the final moment of this person's life, and when you don't give somebody something to go off of, and as I say this out loud, we haven't talked about it, and honestly, like we think this is reserved for the elderly.
Exactly.
No, it's not.
And it should not be.
But it'd probably be worse, if it was one of us, obviously younger, unexpected.
And you have two sets of parents who would be in charge ultimately.
Welcome to our therapy session, Dan.
Yep. We find out so much about ourselves.
We're going to put you on hold there for a minute and just talk to each other and then figure out. But the other thing, and I know you've seen this and talk about specifics, but people come out of the woodwork. And everyone has an opinion.
That's right.
When this happens, and if you don't have it, like here's Dad's piece of paper, handwritten of exactly what he wanted. Like there's no discussion when that's in place. Otherwise, sometimes you have 8, 9, 10 people who all have different thoughts and opinions of what should happen for Dad or Mom, and
exactly.
So
and the fact that
planning.
You brought up, you don't need a down payment. You don't need, it's a conversation. Like have that conversation.
Absolutely.
Right now.
It's important.
The other thing that you do a good job of marketing, advertising, getting the word out, and I'll probably use the wrong terminology because I'm Scott and I mess things up, but
I thought you were perfect.
I am.
No, he's not.
In my own mind, I am perfect. On Mike, not so much. So affordability, cost, right? I'll just say it, right? Like where a lot of funerals can get very expensive.
Yeah. It's
a business, but at the same time, you're trying to help the family work through this emotionally, and so there's always that fine line of, can I make more money here? But you preach budget, right? I mean, affordability. That's kind of your angle on this, which is awesome. So if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, I always tell families, these are our options. I give families every option that we have. And with cremation or even a full burial, because there are families that do still want to have the traditional funeral with the calling hours. And I let them know the New York State requires us to offer and give out a general price list every time we talk about pricing with a family. So that's in front of you when we talk about that, whether it's an at-need situation or a pre-need like we just talked about. And I just show people these are the options and this is what it costs. And, I you have to make people aware of what they're going to be spending. It's a tough thing to talk about, but eventually it's got to be covered. And I encourage families to ask questions when they're selecting this because it's a large expense, and we want to make sure that they know every option that there is as far as pricing and funeral arrangements.
Here's another question that's probably ignorant, but we talk about prepaying. Yeah. Right. So if I were to quote unquote prepay my own final expenses, wishes, arrangements now, and God willing, I live another 40 years, the cost of a funeral and everything that goes with it is going to be more than double by the time I go.
Yeah.
So how does that work? Like, how do you take money now for something that might not happen for 30, 40 years?
Well, funeral homes will take the money and put it into an account, and that accumulates interest over the years. And as a funeral home, we would hope that interest kind of offsets any inflation that might happen.
How have the last 4 years worked out in that category?
Not really good. No,
you're losing that battle.
Very unique.
The funeral home, more often than not, will guarantee their side of the charges. But as far as like the cemetery, those prices really go up a lot.
Okay.
Like, for instance, the crematory fee might go up. That's a cash advance, and death certificates might go up.
Okay.
Those might not be guaranteed.
State and federal, whatever has to be done with them, that's all separate. So it's just the funeral home.
Yeah,
expense.
usually.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what we try to do, at least.
So let's move aside from the quotes 9-to-5 job, and let's talk about your community volunteer work.
Just said it's not a 9-to-5 job.
Well,
it's total opposite of 9-to-5.
That's why I used quotes, but nobody can see that. That's why I said it. What are some organizations or stuff that you do to volunteer?
First of all, I love being involved in the community. A lot of people ask, is it too much for you? Do you get overwhelmed? I don't. I really enjoy being out there and giving back to the community. Rotary has been I've been a long-time member of Rotary. As soon as I came back from SUNY Canton, where I graduated and got my mortuary science degree, I joined Rotary, the Mohawk Valley Rotary, in 2001. And then recently I switched to Little Falls because that's where I live and have my business. So I've been a member there for several years. And I'm a Paul Harris Fellow with the Rotary Club. Okay. I'm not bragging. I'm just kind of telling you the award I got a couple of years ago for being active in Rotary. I'm a member of the Elks in Little Falls. I had their Citizen of the Year award a few years ago, which is a neat thing to have. And every year I took a couple of years off because of my brother passed away and stuff and COVID, with the annual Veterans Picnic and First Responder Picnic. And we had it in Ilion the past couple times. And every year that kind of grew and grew. Just a free day for veterans to come and first responders to enjoy camaraderie with each other, and restaurants donate food and things like that. And, the fire trucks come and
it's so important.
Dignitaries. It
for
is.
veterans,
it
for
is.
sure. And I'm glad that you made that segue into that, because we definitely want to talk about the upcoming bus trip you have. But firsthand, veterans just share that experience, and they so love being able to be together to talk about their experience with somebody else that can relate to it.
Yes. And I always make sure I let people know, and the veterans, that it's a laid back event. We're not here. A lot of them don't want recognition, and I don't blame them. They just want to be kind of low key, which is cool. This is an opportunity to be low key. It's laid back. They can come, have a bite to eat, and then leave, if they want, or just hang out and listen to music. Kale
really
Granger
awesome.
plays every year for it. I'm sure you guys know them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They've been doing it for several years, and it's a great event. Mm-hmm.
Where's that passion come from specific to veterans?
I think dealing with veterans in the funeral business, you kind of get a feel of what they're thinking and might be feeling, and what might be needed to kind of make them comfortable in our community, things like that, and exploring what I know there's opportunities and things for them. And I just came across this idea many years back, and I put it out there, and it kind of grew and grew. And then we're going to try something different this year with the bus trip. And
let's jump into it.
Yeah.
You want to segue into that, Cal?
So it's a bus trip, Veterans Day. It's actually on 11/11/24.
Correct.
And it's a free trip to a cemetery in Saratoga, correct?
Yes. And then another thing, I met with a lot of veterans who were unaware of the Saratoga National Cemetery. I don't know if you guys know about it.
Let's talk about it.
I knew nothing about it before I saw the flyer.
If you're an honorably discharged veteran, you're entitled to be buried in the cemetery for free. They will give you a free plot. They will give your spouse a free plot. they'll give you a burial vault and your spouse a burial vault.
Wow.
Right next to each other. The only thing the veteran will be responsible for is paying, or the cost of the funeral home, the casket, and transportation to the cemetery if there is any. But a lot
again,
of
the
veterans
risk
are unaware
of
that.
sounding ignorant, how big is this place?
It's getting bigger. It's beautiful though.
They have like a whole ton of land, I'm guessing, to expand this?
A ton of land.
Okay.
Yeah, it's right outside of Saratoga and Schuylerville.
Yep.
And it is completely peaceful and relaxing when you're there. I mean, I don't say I don't love to go to a funeral, but going to the cemetery, it's amazing.
Do they have it set up? I'm picturing Arlington National right now. Like, are there separate headstones, like unique headstones, or is it like Arlington National where everyone gets the same white cross?
The same thing.
It is.
Yeah, it's the same type of military headstone that everybody, all the veterans are entitled to and their spouses. So they're all kind of in line and matching each other, and it's similar to Arlington.
It is a breathtaking sight. I mean, we lived in Northern Virginia for years, and that was always
amazing.
Arlington is just amazing. It really is. So I did not even know.
Right down to the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, JFK's flame. We would spend time at the wall, and
it's really neat.
Just power in seeing just how enormous it is. So
definitely,
this is. Probably we're out in Saratoga all the time. We probably should.
Yeah, take a ride past there.
We definitely should.
It's really incredible to see it, and that option that's available to our veterans. It's really nice.
Okay, so it's on Veterans Day. The bus leaves at 7:30 from where?
We meet at 7:30 at my funeral home location on Route 5 outside of Little Falls.
Yep.
And then we're going to have breakfast. That's going to be all donated by the Legion in Little Falls. And we're going to get on the bus at 8:30, and then there's a service at 11 o'clock for Veterans Day at the National Cemetery. And then we're going to tour the cemetery and then come back. And then the Office of the Aging here in Herkimer County is going to offer bagged lunch for all the veterans. And there's a whole group of us that are providing food at breakfast and at lunch.
Awesome.
Yep.
And I did see that that's one way that local people can support this, right? If you're looking to donate snacks or things or anything else, what can local people do to help make this a success?
Just get in touch with us. Like you said, they can donate any sort of supplies, soft drink themselves if they want to come and help out and help the veterans on and off the bus. Just get in touch with me. My phone number's on the pamphlet there, and then we can set something up where they can help us out.
That's
the
awesome.
cost is
free.
Free.
Yeah.
$0.
It's free.
Mm-hmm.
And capacity is obviously limited to, it's a coach bus, I'm guessing, 55.
One of the
passengers.
ARC buses in
Okay.
Herkimer. There's 26 seats. We
Okay.
have 20 filled so far.
Okay.
So we don't have much time left. So people need to call and RSVP. And
if we do run out of space, they can follow, I would imagine, the
they
bus,
could
right?
follow,
I mean,
or we can look into
still
getting
be a part
another
of
bus.
the breakfast and lunch and whatever.
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, not a problem at all.
Okay, so I want you to talk a little bit about the places that you visited too, because in looking at your history and the American Red Cross, you volunteered.
Yes.
You have been to numerous parts of our country and different countries volunteering for people that are in need of help. So
I have. Yeah.
Do you want to talk a little bit
I'd love
about
to.
those?
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up.
Yeah.
After Hurricane Katrina happened, the New York State Funeral Directors reached out to all the members of the association and said, there's, it's a mass fatality down there, and we need funeral directors to go down there and unfortunately recover, take part in the recovery process of people that lost their lives. And I said to my parents, sign me up. That was back in, I can't remember the year.
05.
05. Yeah. I went the next day. They put me on a plane and I went with the Kenyan International Disaster Service Group, and I'm still a member with them. I most recently was in Manhattan as their incident commander during COVID.
Yeah.
So I took care of that for them. I was down there for about a month. And I also went to Haiti, Port-au-Prince, Haiti, after the earthquake and helped out there. That was really an interesting scenario for sure. They all are. They're really
so
it's sad.
When you do this, is this like straight volunteer? Is there any stipend
they take
or
care
money?
of expenses for you and food and things like that.
So
and they give you
your day to day, but you're not getting paid to do this. This is volunteer.
You volunteer, your time, but they do give you money to, so you can eat and go back and forth and things like that and do stuff when you have your days off. and things like that. So, but
crazy.
It's amazing the people that come down and help out. It's mainly funeral directors and, law enforcement and things like that. And you meet your friends in a situation like that and you have them forever. It's really powerful.
Talk about a positive, if there is one. I imagine there is one, just a positive story or something memorable that brings a smile to your face, like looking back at all these horrific, tragic events with mass casualties, and that's why you're there. Mm-hmm. But what's something uplifting or positive that came out of it? No,
it's a good question. I think what I just said, you make your closest friends in times like that when you're working together for the same cause. And I still talk to friends daily that I've met back in 2005 after Katrina and after the earthquake and in Manhattan most recently. Mm-hmm. And we still meet up. You meet friends from all over the world, and it's a great connection and a great network to have. Yep.
Another thing I want to bring up is you host exchange students, correct?
I do. Yeah, I'm a single guy. I have no children, so I got involved doing this probably about 10 years back, and I've hosted several of them.
That's awesome.
Still keep in touch with them. Last year I went to Italy and I stayed with my most recent foreign exchange student and his family outside of Rome.
That is so cool.
I'm taking Italian lessons now, and I'm really trying to learn the language, and I'm probably go back to see more. And they've mostly been from Italy, but I need to kind of expand my horizons now. My mom's Irish, so she's like, you need to kind of go to a different country.
We have that in common then, because I'm Irish and Italian.
That's
you get the best of both words, right?
Depending on which parent you ask, they'll tell you what the good half is.
Very true, Scott. Yeah, that's very
true. For sure.
Absolutely.
How long are they here for when they're here, an exchange student?
You can do like a 6 month. They come in the spring, or you can do the entire year.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm. And they go right to Little Falls High School.
Yeah, they went to Little Falls High School. And it's great because it's like you're a parent. I mean, you dig your heels into the school, you go to the games and they get involved and you meet parents and you get invited to other events, and it's neat. It's just a way to be a parent. It's really nice.
We toyed with it.
You should do it.
Briefly when our son, she's going to be a funny, when our son Connor's soccer team was stacked a couple years ago, we needed like one or two more players, and we probably could have went to Italy and picked up an exchange student.
He's trying to recruit people for our soccer team. I'm looking at you going, what are you talking about?
We can take someone out for 6 months.
Not all Italians are good soccer players. Don't let that fool you.
That leads me on. Do you pick the kid? Or does the kid? Okay.
No. You do, yeah.
Well, that's going to be one of our criteria.
Oh, yeah. But I just want to warn you that you might want to go to Brazil.
They're not. That's fair.
So let's talk a little bit about your hobbies.
Argentina.
Outside of your professional responsibilities, what are some of your hobbies or activities you enjoy?
Well, as Scott, I recently took up running last year, and I had to stop about a month ago since I had the surgery. So hopefully I can start back up soon, but it's an addiction. I didn't realize it was going to turn into an addiction. Mm-hmm. I started at under a mile, and then a year later I'm up to 6-7 miles, and you just keep going and going, as I'm sure you guys are aware.
That runner's high is definitely, you got to go far enough though to get it.
This is a fun fact, and I'm going to make sure that our producer, John Spina, highlights this. Dan Enea is the only person I passed in this year's Boilermaker.
Really?
We were...
But then I think he passed you at the end, for sure.
We were about a quarter of a mile in when I saw you. We were still on Culver Ave. We didn't even make it to mile 1.
Yeah.
Too funny. Just you run into people along the course, right? So...
But before that, I was, weightlifting and stuff. So I kind of lost all my type of muscle stuff, but that's okay. I enjoy running, and I want to get back into weightlifting now. That's for sure. Nice. I miss it.
You probably did. I had some struggles coming out of the zoo this year, so I'm sure you passed me in the final 5K with the rest of the field. My joke when I get to mile 8, I see people that I know. Jason Wozlewski was one of them. And he's like, "Hey, Scott," and I said, "I can't turn around. Is there anyone behind me? I just want to make sure there's at least one person.
But
when you get on that hill, you look back behind, right, and you can see all those people.
I never look back. That's my biggest fear in the Boilermaker is there's no one. There's just people picking up cups behind me.
My favorite spot is when you get to the top of the golf course and you can see everybody else. If you look to the right hand side, they haven't done the hill yet, and you're like, "Thank God, I'm done with that."
Yeah, that's a good feeling.
You're up at the top of the hill, and you still see everybody else down there. So yeah,
it's very liberating to throw your water cup down too. I don't know what that's all about.
Right?
Well, when you're used to following the rules, it's like
very true.
The don't litter message is like screaming, but I'm going to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
So awesome career. You're one of these people that 4 pages, we didn't even get into, all of it. But as Kelly points out to me here, that you were the Genesis group, which I'm a friend of Ray Durso and that group. You were,
Ray's a good guy.
Yeah, Leaders Under 40 Award in 2011. So congratulations on that. Well deserved. There's like 4 pages of accolades here. We didn't get to hardly any of them. And then I look and I see what year you graduated high school, and I'm like, shoot, like, like this. He's got a whole career, resume.
Like you said, it's like my obituary.
Yeah, but you've got a lot of years left.
I know.
I'm feeling bad about myself. I gotta go.
No.
Get going, man.
Keep up with Dan Enea.
I said the key is staying single and having no kids. You can do all this stuff.
That is a whole separate conversation.
Listen, don't get me started. So you also probably
I got that going for
that
me.
Stuff I don't. What's that stuff called that other people
money.
have? Money. Yeah. Once you have kids, you don't have money.
Yeah.
Too funny. But no, seriously, congratulations.
Thank you.
An awesome career and certainly well known, well respected.
Appreciate that.
The amount of volunteer work and just in and out of the community is admirable. And
thank you.
We need more people like you doing things like this. So we appreciate it. And,
absolutely.
One last time before we get to our final 5 questions, which I always write. This is the first time in Love Living Local history that my day is insane today. My week's been insane. And I said to Kelly, will you take the lead with the questions?
Well, I made the mistake every morning over coffee. It's like, I can tell. Like, and this morning I could tell he was stressed. I'm like, what can I do to help you? And then he's like, oh my gosh.
I delegated this.
You definitely delegated
I don't even know what they are. I'm excited to hear them. But I do want to give a quick plug one last time. So Veterans Day obviously is November 11th. The bus trip is completely free for veterans and family.
Yeah, one guest.
Veterans. And
but more
one
people
guest.
can come if they want. They can follow, like you said, follow in.
And you're going to meet at Dan's funeral parlor, which is Mohawk Valley Funerals and Cremations, 7507 State Route 5 in Little Falls.
Yes.
Seats are limited, so please RSVP by contacting Dan at 315-508-3131.
5131. Sorry about that.
5131. Yeah. This is what happens when Scott tries to read without glasses.
No, you're good.
So breakfast, before the trip, lunch after the trip, and the trip itself will have a service at the Saratoga.
That's correct.
The Saratoga National Cemetery.
Yep.
So awesome event. Again, it's free to the veterans. I'm connecting the dots here that it's probably funded by you. and some friends, I would imagine. But no, seriously, awesome event, and
thank you.
Thanks for putting it together.
Definitely glad to do it.
And now for the main event.
All right, here we go. Drum roll.
I can't believe you put this much pressure on me. Like, whatever.
Don't mess up.
You're the one that's got to answer them. Favorite way to spend a day off locally?
Enjoying the outdoors in the community and whatever the community has to offer. Any events or anything like that, and being active.
This is a question I used to ask, and then I stopped asking because it gets people into trouble. But my wife doesn't care; she wants to get
because this is how I find out about different places.
One of, not the favorite, but one of your favorite restaurants, or a couple.
Bella Vista.
Yeah, you stay true to the home team,
and the one in Utica.
That one?
The Italian.
The Italian place in Utica?
No, I sound dumb. I'm sorry.
No.
I forgot the name of it, but I'm sorry about that. I have a brain lapse.
Well, it's a good Italian restaurant.
We'll get it in show notes when you think of it.
One of the oldest ones in East Utica. If you give me a couple names.
Not Ventura's.
Ventura's.
Yeah. It was on the tip. How do we not know
that
that's
place?
McMurray's favorite
spot.
spot.
That's what I know.
Ventura's is great.
All right. Favorite or most beautiful place you have traveled to?
Italy. Yeah.
Whereabouts?
What region?
I would say Capri.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is where?
That's over on the coast.
Okay.
Right? All the towns on the rocks edges and stuff like that. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, that's definitely on our list.
Yeah, we want to get to northern.
Quick trip. We did a cruise and we stopped in Italy for like one day, I think it was.
I did a cruise last year. I went to Greece and South Italy, and it was cool.
We did Mediterranean.
We were kind of in the middle of Italy. We were in Genoa.
Northern part. Yeah, Genoa. And
Margarita.
I can't remember.
We had a margarita maybe at lunch. I'm not sure. But what was funny is, and you'll certainly appreciate this, we were able to spend the afternoon. We got some pizza. Right? How cliche is that? But we were able to spend the afternoon kind of just strolling through these cobblestone streets, and the buildings had you had a doorbell, I guess, but to buzz the person to be let into the building, and they've got all the names listed. And we just read name after name that we knew, like as Frankfurt people.
Common last names.
Oriolo and, just.
Right.
It's interesting. Our name is pronounced different there. It's Enea. It's not. When my grandfather came, it got switched over to Enea, but it's really Enea. And his name, which was Harry, was Enrico. Before he came, and that got switched to Harry.
Well, Scott's family, half of them are Grizzutos, and then the other half of them are Greatses.
Yeah, my father always told me it got changed, right?
They changed
so
it.
my great-grandfather came over as Giuseppe Grizzuto and became Joe Greats.
It's kind of insulting. Why'd they change our names?
Giuseppe Grizzuto is so much cooler.
I know, definitely.
But at least I shouldn't say, it's wild. So he came over with one of three, so three brothers.
Same with my grandfather, yeah.
Two of them got in, one didn't. And speaking of soccer, right, the other one, they were sending boats from Ellis Island to Argentina. And so my aunt does all this genealogy and went back, and we have a whole part of our tree in Argentina. The brothers never talked to each other again. Well, the two in America did. But the guy in Argentina, that was like, they just went off and did their thing.
Interesting.
So, so it is wild how families... their roots.
Definitely.
This has been a great conversation for me to have with myself. Hopefully there's a few people listening along here.
It's going to be recorded, right?
He will re-listen to this one over and over and over again.
That is not true.
Not true.
Okay, here's one, this funeral. Okay. So craziest item that's ever been placed in a casket.
Oh, man.
And don't get yourself in trouble if
probably a liquor bottle or something.
Okay.
Yeah, I always found that interesting.
All right.
A lot of people do that.
It's actually brilliant.
Stop it.
When we work on our plan tonight, final wishes.
As he's drinking bourbon.
I'm going to save a little. I'm going to save a little bourbon.
You do Manhattans?
I will.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
That's what he started out with. That was your drink to start out with, was Manhattans. Don't you remember?
Yeah. Now it's just
on ice.
Yeah.
On a big
Why ruin a good thing?
Yeah.
So in your form that you gave us, it mentions you enjoy going to concerts.
Yes.
Best concert you've ever seen.
Well, I'm a huge Everclear fan.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember Everclear. I just saw them this past year. I've seen them about 15 times.
Wow.
Who I've seen more of is Kenny Chesney. I've seen him about 18 times.
All right.
Yeah, twice this past year. I really follow him around. He's amazing.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And I've seen everybody I went to London last year and I saw AC/DC at Wembley, which was amazing.
Wow.
That's neat.
That's a concert.
Yeah. And then I saw Bocelli there too, which was cool. Him and his son, Matteo. Mm-hmm.
Diverse.
It was
big takeaway from
my
today.
mother owned a music store, so I have
country, rock.
Yeah. Do you remember Mr. C's? By
do.
chance? Yeah, my mother owned that. So
Okay, is that where
her and my
Anthony
brother.
Bevilacqua put his car place now? Is that?
There's a car place there. I'm not sure if that's the one though.
Okay, Mr.
The Domes. It was over at the Domes.
Okay.
She was the first
All right.
Ticketmaster location in the area.
I went and bought tickets
I'm
there
sure
that
did.
you mentioned that.
People used to camp out.
Kate
out front.
Rockathon?
Yes.
Yeah, she had people on big concerts that would pitch tents out front.
That is so
She'd go there
funny.
at like 5 a.m, have to kick them to the side to get in the doors.
I think that's the first place I ever bought a concert ticket from.
There you
His
go.
mother kicked you to the side.
She did not.
So, do you know what I call those, Dan? The good old days.
Oh, yeah,
because
definitely.
now, instead of camping out and earning a ticket, you got to be a bot.
Yeah.
Right? To get a ticket.
It is too easy.
Have a certain credit card. Like the boys are super jacked up about a new concert that tickets are going to go on sale on the 29th. And I guess for American Express card holders, they get pre-sale tickets. So the fact that you need
calling BS.
It's nuts. Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's true or not, but
they
whatever.
get sold 10x on the secondary market.
And following in my brother Harry's footsteps, I'm a metal fan too.
Okay.
You are diverse.
Typo Negative I've seen. I saw them
Nice.
with him, and I saw 9 Inch Nails. They're great. And Rob Zombie and Alice Cooper were together last year. I saw them. So that was pretty cool stuff.
And Alice Cooper is
that was a great question I asked.
That is a great question.
Yeah, he's a pretty
Way better than the restaurant one.
that I didn't know where I go.
Listen, we're going to have a Manhattan and Venturas. Right?
Exactly.
We figured it out. My big takeaway from today is you're way cooler than me. And now I have something to aspire to.
I'm honored. Thank you.
I appreciate you coming in today, Dan.
Yeah, definitely. Not a problem. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Love Living Local. As you know, we do not run ads. Our only mission is to shine a spotlight on amazing people doing amazing things here in our local community. If you'd like to support us with this mission, we have 3 ways you can help. You can share our content on social, subscribe or follow the show on your favorite podcast platform, and you can visit our lovelivinglocal315.com website to stay up to date with everything happening in Central New York.